It's the Shiny Squirrel Podcast, the Nerdling edition. This is a new podcast I'm bringing to the Shiny Squirrel Podcast Network. Yeah, that's right. We're still branching out into many more new things, but we're called the Nerdlings. This is the Nerdling Podcast because we are going to talk about something each week that has to do with the world of being nerdums. This week we're going to talk about comic books. I'm WC Chronicles, your usual host with the others. And I hail from the West Coast, but also joining me and going to be doing this Nerdlings podcast because he brings a Jersey edition. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jersey Mike. I have that East Coast opinion that you can't turn around love or hate. It is what it is.
This is true. I picked Mike to do this podcast with me because we both bring a prospect, a new word I'm going to invent, prospect. It's
Prospect?
Prospect.
Does that go with Rospect?
Yeah, Rospect. So anyway, because you bring the East Coast aspect. You grew up. You were in the. We're kind of near the same age, but we were there at the beginning of most everything, sort of.
Exactly. Can't miss those 80s, man. And now this comic book, 1976. Count that, almost 40 years ago.
Yeah. Now I posted a few photos of this comic book called. It's the Battle of the Century, Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. Posted a few pictures of it on the Instagram account, and this came out in 1976. Mike was just looking at it a little bit here. What are your thoughts on it?
Let me tell you something. That's our bicentennial, 200-year birthday of America. And the quality and the craftsmanship of this cover, front and back, is just amazing. It just jumps out at you like a 3D, old, awesome, actually quality work. You know what I mean? Quality, good stuff. I mean, look at this. You got Superman getting ready to bang out with Spider-Man on top of friggin', it looks like I don't know if that's the Empire State Building.
It's like the top of Metropolis.
Yeah, and it's just, it's just crazy. And they're ready to duke it out and stuff. It's just like, you're talking Spider-Man with his spider senses and Superman with his X-ray vision. How much better can a comic book get?
And it's not, let's get this straight. It's not your standard stock comic size, not like that 8x11 notebook paper. This is the large size edition. It's probably about 18 by 12 stock paper. And it has well over, I believe it's 100 pages in it.
Now that was worth $2 back in 1976. So imagine the illustration, the thought process. I mean, it says DC and Marvel Comics present Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. That's incredible.
Yeah, now I don't know if DC and Marvel have done any other tie-in comics together. Maybe if there's some listener out there that could let us know that, send us an email or send us an Instagram message. But let me tell you how I acquired this. I was about 6 years old, and I would always remember when my parents would go to this grocery store in Portland. It was a grocery store called Fred Meyer's. While they're taking care of stuff and checkout, I would go wander over to these two comic book magazine racks that they had, the spinning kind. And I remember seeing them, and Mommy, can I... And this is when they were a dime or 6 cents or some little one-digit price. And I would see this. I remember seeing this in the trolley, the spinning round, and I'm just like, oh, my two most favorite superheroes, Superman and Spider-Man. I want that. But $2, there's no way you can get it.
No, that's like $20 or $30 today. It's just amazing. I mean, if you think about it, you had, Peter Parker and Clark Kent. I mean, these guys are just ordinary people that worked in a newspaper.
Both newspaper reporters.
And who would have thought that these guys are going to be superheroes and duke it out and turn around and go after evil villains and stuff? I mean, this thing here just jumps out on the page from you. Yeah. This is just incredible. This is just like, holy smokes. This is what every kid wanted.
This is the best of both worlds right here.
Yes, it is.
And in the comic book, Superman helps Spider-Man defeat Doc Ock, I believe it is. And then Spider-Man helps Superman defeat Lex Luthor, which is, that's the storyline that goes on in this. But I never bought this originally when I was a kid.
Oh, no?
And never got it.
Wow.
Fast forward to the year about 2000. I was living in Corvallis, Oregon, and I was talking to a neighbor friend telling him we were talking about this. This is when the internet was still kind of in its infancy.
Wow.
He went on eBay, and I think he paid $12 for it and got it for me for my birthday. I was just floored because I wanted it ever since then, and then I got it finally.
And that's a friend who actually got you something you wanted. And, as guys, unfortunately, it is what it is. We're grown up, but we're still kids, and this represents your childhood right here. I mean,
is.
come on. DC Comics, Superman, The Amazing Spider-Man, you know what I mean? Remember? Spin a web. Anytime, watch out, here goes the Spider-Man.
Exactly.
In the thrill of the night.
That was the thrill of the comic book. You could disappear into that little world. But, I've never, being a collector, not a hardcore collector, because this is probably the one of only a few comics that I own, I never really looked up the price of it. So the other day, I went on Google, I punched I punched in the word Spider-Man, Superman on Google, hit the shopping icon.
Okay.
This thing's worth not necessarily worth, but what they're asking for it in the market is something like around an average of $100, and I'm choking on that, $150. You
gotta be kidding me.
I am not kidding.
Seriously, $150. I mean, that's like, wow. Not only do you get like the thrill of being a kid, like the excitement of America, the superheroes and stuff, you actually have an investment here.
It is.
It's incredible.
I've never done the math, but I didn't have time to do the math, but it's probably 100% return or more.
Wow. That's something else, man. And I'll tell you what, the cover or the back cover is just amazing how they stand there with the confidence. You see Spider-Man, you see Superman smiling. I've never seen awesome artwork like this on a comic book. This just shows you the quality that went into this. I wonder how long it took them to come up with the idea to draw this. How long, did they really take to come up with the design for this, the drawing and stuff? That's just not an overnight thing. Look at the quality of this. I think
they do comics the same way they do like TV shows or cartoon animations. They do a wall board, storyboard, so they can get it up in front of them, and so they see everything. Can you imagine having this on a storyboard, working each frame? I bet around the room and around and around.
I can't believe this, because you see in some of the graphics here, the guy, Luce Lexler, goes to jail. I mean, look at this. They have actual pictures of him, in jail. I mean, different stuff like that.
It's in chapters, three chapters.
I mean, look at this. You got Spider-Man. I mean, he's shooting his web, stuff like that. Then in this chapter here, you got the original swoosh, sprank, skirsh stuff, like them awesome words. Crash, there goes Superman. Him and Spider-Man are duking it out a little bit. I mean, this is really what everybody wanted. This is what movies were made of. This is what today's movies are based on. And Iron Man and stuff are based on these characters who came out of DC Comics, and the quality of this is incredible. You're a blessed guy to have this. This is really cool.
Well, I never found out how many of them they made, but I'm kind of curious how far down the road, because they got the new Superman versus Batman movie. They're bringing Justice League to the big screen. This right here could be a script for a movie.
Can I tell you something? I wonder if the person you said that Myers store you went to, any relation to Michael Myers from Halloween?
No relation to Michael Myers.
But then again, who knows? This could be something else. I mean, like, could you imagine Superman, Spider-Man versus Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger? Could you imagine some kind of crazy something like that? This is where it starts.
I remember seeing a crossover comic. My brother had it, which is whole other topic. It was a crossover. It was the regular size print, the 8x11 sort of size, but it was Spider-Man joins in with the Transformers.
Wow. Now, who would have thought that? Now, that's friggin' pretty cool.
Now, you could Google that one and see a picture of that one. It shows Spider-Man swinging in front of Optimus Prime.
That's crazy. And Optimus Prime, it looks like he had like an octopus. He was had 6 different fingers or the arms and stuff. And
no, that was Dr. Ock.
Okay, Dr. Ock. Okay.
Transformers.
Okay. Well, Dr. Ock's got my attention here because he was just be able to get you with a couple, get this one, that one with the arms. Is just amazing. How do these guys come up with these ideas for these characters? I mean, it's amazing.
What was your first comic book that you ever had, Michael?
To be honest with you, Jersey Mike, probably Superman. And I had the the #1 type of thing, but it wasn't like this, like a big edition. It was that small one like this. I think it was like 40 cents or 30 cents or something. And you read it, and it was like, wow, this is like a euphoria as a kid. It's like, I'm going home, you're looking at, the comic, and it's just like, wow, you escaped to a new different world. Then they started not just having these comic books, then they have them on TV. So you're like, I have my comic book right here, I have my cereal here as a kid, and I could watch them on Saturday morning cartoons.
Do you remember the ads they had in the comic books for like X-ray. There'd be these ads for different things, and you could order X-ray glasses.
Yes, I remember X-ray glasses and stuff. I remember they came out with that for like them 3D movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I remember I wanted a pair of those those X-ray glasses. Of course, they weren't real, but I was just all those different things. You know, smoke bombs, play jokes on your friends, those prank jokes. Wow. You could get them for $10.
And how about those crazy things like they used to have like them weird snake stuff, or put it in like the water, and then the thing would blow up to
what were they called? The sea.
I don't remember. I just remember you put them in there, and before you know, we had something like from an inch to like 8 or 10 inches.
Those sea families that would grow.
That's what I'm saying. This was generations.
Yeah, because there's no ads in this one. That's the thing.
No, but the size.
Sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys.
That was it. Sea monkeys, and you would get this. The ad made it look like the sea monkeys was going to grow and get. Your expectations of what you were going to get is not what the outcome was.
Wow, let me tell you something here. They have a little inside information on the guys, a little dot on the inside cover.
Oh, look, Stan Lee.
Yeah, Stan Lee.
Stan Lee, and picture of him from 1976.
And Carmine Infantino with like one of those long smoking cigar or like a cigarette thing.
Jimmy Jameson. That's Peter Parker's boss's name we were talking before we started turning on.
But what kind of comic book turns around and does this, gives you information on the author and stuff? I mean, this is really a rare find you got here, man. This is a cool stuff. It gives you a little bit of this and that, and it's just like, wow. And then on the front inside page it says, at last, the greatest team up of all, Superman and the Amazing Spider-Man. That's pretty cool.
We could almost read this as remember the old serials that they have in movies, like Indiana Jones was a serial?
Yeah.
You could almost read this like chapter for chapter, make a podcast out of the serial.
It actually wants you to make you think the way things are going nowadays, that it's like, how did people survive without a TV? With all our technology, people did it from radio. They would broadcast. And now,
like what we're doing now with the podcast.
Amazing Spider-Man, WCW presents.
And then they act it out. That's true. You could almost have like an old-time radio program. You could act out this comic book with the pows and the sound effects.
Bam! Crunch!
Like a Foley artist. Like they'd hit the side of beef and make the sound effects. And
and for rain and different stuff and lightning and pow. I mean, this is where things started. I mean, it didn't start with going to your iPad or your cell phone and stuff like that. It grew into it, but it grew from simple stuff.
Simple stuff like that. We would probably get in trouble if we started to read this material.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want DC and Marvel lawyers coming at you.
No, so that's how awesome and rare of a find this is, but it also shows you, as the Nerdlings now, we're going to be doing different topics and stuff like that, and this is something unbelievable. So you have to go to WCW Through Chronicles.
The Instagram account is WCW_comedy.
Go there, check this podcast out, check out this awesome thing from 40 years ago.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 30 years ago, but these like, this thing is 40. I'm like, oh my God, that's right.
40 years old. It looks like it just came out of the shop yesterday. It's not just in great shape. It also gives you like, what was things like for kids that weren't born back then? What was this like to be in a different era? To have a payphone, to have a television that didn't have cable and satellites and stuff.
Before pagers.
Yeah, it just had regular PBS and broadcasting, and it came on at 7 in the morning or 8 at night. That was life.
Now, here's another interesting thing. My youngest brother, his name's Harold. He loved, he didn't care much about this like superheroes, but he loved G.I. Joes. He would always draw G.I. Joes. He would trace them and stuff. He was kind of a G.I. Joe Star Wars fan.
Oh, wow.
And he actually went to school. He grew up, he would make his own little comic books, single pages, when he was 10, 11, but then later he went to school and then later got hired and employed by Dark Horse Comics.
Really?
Yeah, so he still does it to this day. What he did for Dark Horse Comics was he was a colorist. And from what I understand, that's the person who gets the first photos, just black and white sketchings, and goes through with a computer and starts putting in colors, highlighting where shades and different things should be before it goes to hard copy print.
Wow, what year was that?
That would have been because Dark Horse, because the comic book industry crashed several years ago, from what I understand, because they were just glutting the market like crazy.
Oh, wow.
And Dark Horse, which is located in downtown Milwaukee, Oregon, I can't remember the guy's.
Milwaukee, Oregon?
Milwaukee, Oregon, yeah.
Wow, I never heard of Milwaukee, Oregon. I heard of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but never.
Oh, yeah, Milwaukee,
Oregon.
Yeah,
wow.
the owner of Dark Horse Comics is the guy who is responsible for the movie The Mask.
The Mask?
The Mask, because The Mask was a comic from Dark Horse Comics.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, I did not. See, I learned something here today. Listen to the podcast. You'll be learning things. I didn't know that. That's something. So the comic book went from being a comic book to a major motion picture.
That's it, yeah. And I can't.
Wow.
But they ended up having the comic book industry crashed, and my brother lost his job there. But the thing is, with the internet, he was able to go independent, so he still does color separation work. I believe is the correct title for it.
Wow.
And he still does that in that industry.
You hear that now? Anybody knows anything? Contact.
WC Chronic, just contact us, yeah.
And that way you never know, because his brother, if he worked for Dark Horse, you never know what he has in his mind to create.
He did do one cover for G.I. Joe's. He got to do all the cover and everything, so he got his name on it. I'm not sure the number of it, but I can dig that out and check it later.
Definitely. That'll be another podcast, because G.I. Joe, if anybody remembers that from the 60s and early 70s, G.I. Joe was about a foot long. His head used to come off. He used to have like different kinds of uniforms and stuff. They used to have
the tall plastic, not little army men, but the tall plastic G.I. Joe figures.
And he had real clothes, real shoes, real different kinds of weapons and stuff. He had like different kinds of outfits. Like there was Space G.I. Joe or something.
There was Space G.I. Joe,
and it's just like amazing how that came out, and where did that originally start from? You know what I'm saying? G.I. Joe.
It goes back to the 40s, actually, World War II.
I really don't know, but I know they also had dog tags. I remember they used to have a case, and it was when you collected it, you would put his item in there. You had to buy everything separately.
It was a case that you opened up.
Yeah, exactly.
And you talk about the 40s. So there was the Superman comics every so often where he would be fighting Hitler or something.
I never saw that.
I remember seeing pictures of it, or it was at a comic book convention, but where the Justice League heroes would go and they would fight the Germans in World War II.
Wow, that's something else, man. See, now that's what you call pop culture.
Pop culture. Yeah.
You can't beat that.
And what's neat about it is you can take a few search terms and go on Google and find pictures of these original comics.
Now you see that? And we have an original comic right here. So how can you go wrong with that? So they do exist.
They do exist. I mean, do you have any comics in your collections back in Jersey?
No. Unfortunately, everything, I probably, like a lot of other people back then, you throw it out because you don't save it and stuff. Yeah. And it winds up in, like everything else in New Jersey, like they say, we're the toxic waste state. So it winds up in our toxic landfills or whatever. But we're not really like that. We're just people that are people, but just a little fast forward and opinionated.
Now, what was your least favorite comic? I can tell you mine. The one I didn't care for much.
Probably something to do with like Groucho, what's his name, from Cookie Monster or something like that. Yeah.
Close. Archie and the Gang.
Yeah. I remember some of them. They weren't my favorite, but I'll tell you what, I didn't like some of them other weird ones they had.
I had Archie and Jughead and Reggie and Moose, but I do have to give kudos. Later on, as you got older in life, you realized how nice those drawings of Veronica.
And cool how they were, these guys. These were the hipsters in the 40s,
they were the
50s.
Hipsters of their time.
Exactly. And you don't know this growing up, but they're cool. So no negativity towards you guys. It's a blessed thing. It's just when you're young growing up, it's kind of like being...
They were the inspiration for the people who drew Jessica Rabbit.
There you go.
Who drew Veronica and the other chick. I can't remember her name.
It's like, that's why they call it the nerdlings. We're not the most popular people, so that's what it is. But, I'm not a scientist, rocket scientist and stuff. It's just, I'm a nerdling.
We're the nerdlings.
The nerdlings.
So I want to talk about somebody who I had a chance to meet a year ago and actually got to do some work in his house in my day job.
Who was that?
It's a guy, he's a resident here, and actually I forgot just one thing I wanted to say at the beginning. We are coming to you recording live from near the Las Vegas Strip.
Only a mile away, right around the corner from some of the best hotels, beautiful looking showgirls, some of the best entertainment and restaurant, Las Vegas. Come see us.
And some of the worst too.
Yeah.
No, Las Vegas has a lot of famous residents, but this is one of the
Let me guess. Can I take a guess?
You can take a guess. You can have a guess. You got to guess.
Let me see. I'm going to say Joe Jackson.
I didn't know Joe Jackson was a resident of Las Vegas.
Yes, Joe Jackson is. Michael Jackson's father actually lives here.
Oh, that Joe Jackson.
Yes.
I thought you meant stepping out Joe Jackson.
No.
Okay.
So it's not Joe Jackson. I give up. Who is it?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage from Valley Girl.
From all...
The Matrix.
No, he didn't do Matrix.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. See, I'm a nerdling. I don't get everything right.
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Honeymoon in Vegas. I think it was 3,000 Miles from Graceland.
Yeah, the movie he did with John Travolta, Face Off.
Face Off, where they took each other's face and
stuff. That was it, yeah. That one.
Nicolas Cage, let me explain something to you. You are a very incredible actor, great guy. So if you can get this podcast, please contact us because we are very good people who are very good actors, improv and stuff like that, and you rock, sir.
And I did some work in your home, sir, but I had to be professional because my day job is I'm a design consultant for high-end furniture. That's what I do. I was in his home to repair some high-end furniture.
You never shared that with me. What are you keeping all these secrets for?
Well, I didn't have to sign a confidentiality, but I can tell you about his house if you want. I will say this. He did have on his wall a photo of him and Marvel guy, Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. Oh, wow.
I'm blanking on names here.
You are blanking on the names here. You ain't to sharing information. You don't like the Italians.
You know I'm bad on names a lot. But he had an autographed photo of himself with Stan Lee on his wall.
That must be incredible.
In his kitchen. I was in his kitchen.
You were in Nicolas Cage's kitchen?
Yes, I was.
What does the man eat?
Well, when my first visit there, he was getting up and he was having breakfast cereal.
Wow.
Because he stuck his head around the corner, didn't get to meet him, but the second, third time, met him. Very nice guy, cordial.
Wow, you met Nicolas Cage. Wow.
He's a nice guy. But I got some Nicolas Cage comic book facts.
Do you really?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's roll.
I bet there's some you don't even know. Okay, so I'm going to start with the one that just came out in the news recently, because there was talk that he was supposed to be in the role of Superman in the movie back in the 90s.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And some videotape finally surfaced. It's on the internet. It came out, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago of him wearing the outfit that was going to be Superman's new costume.
Oh, wow.
And he's just trying it on. He's got long hair, but it's the 90s Nicolas Cage.
Wow, that must have been something. Seeing that.
I can show it to you later.
Oh, definitely like to see that.
Definitely show it to you. Now, he had his current wife, his third wife, her name's Alice Kim. She's a very nice lady. I met her too.
Wow.
His son, who's about 9 years old now, I think it is, his name is KL.
KL, wow.
After Superman.
Wow, I'll tell you.
Planet.
Isn't that something?
Superman's name.
I'll tell you, this guy here is a true artist, man. Awesome person. I also have a Nicolas Cage story real fast.
And go ahead.
When I was vacationing with my parents and family in Paradise Island, the Bahamas, Nicolas Cage was there at the roulette table with Priscilla Marie Presley at the time. Yeah, really. I could see them from there. He was the only gentleman and his beautiful lady that I've ever seen with a butler actually standing there and pouring him, I don't know if it was wine or champagne. I didn't want to, make a ruckus over it because I respect their privacy. But imagine that standing about 40, 15, 20 feet, whatever it was, by Nicolas Cage in Paradise Island, seeing him, the only person I ever saw with a butler pouring champagne or wine with Lisa Marie Presley.
How tall is Lisa Marie Presley?
She was so short. She must be 5'2" or 3". Very short young lady. I couldn't believe I saw her first. I looked up. There's Nicolas Cage. I'm just like, wow. Because
it's interesting because you have some icon people you follow, and then when you actually see how tall they are, it's like, I didn't realize that.
Wow.
Bigger than life.
And you don't want to, disrespect them because they need their privacy too.
Exactly.
I respect you very much, sir, for that. And it was just incredible.
That's what I had to do when I was at Mr. Cage's house, is be professional and not go off the deep end. I would have loved to go off the deep end. Hey, can I get a selfie with you? No, didn't do that. Nope. Didn't.
But you're always respectable like that. That's why I like hanging out and working with you, especially being a nerdling. You're the senior nerdling. I'll be the junior nerdling.
That's pretty good. Junior nerdling. We'll get you a decoder ring and everything.
All right. Activate.
Well, here's another thing I bet you didn't know about Nicolas Cage, okay? Of course, his uncle is Francis Ford Coppola. His real name is Nicholas Coppola. But he took his name Cage from a Marvel comic book hero named Luke Cage.
Really? Wow.
Now, I'm not real familiar about the character Luke Cage, but I guess he's obviously he's a Marvel comic book character, and that's where Nicolas Cage took his name from.
I wonder what year that character came out, if it's something in the 60s or 70s or something like that.
I don't know. I didn't have time to dig that deep, but I did see passing 4 days ago on Netflix. They are now producing a show based on the Luke Cage Marvel comic book character.
Wow. What does that tell you? This guy is really something.
It's coming around. Now, I got the final one. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Nicolas Cage, being such a Superman comic book fan himself, back in the year 2000, he had, or prior to that, he purchased a Superman 1 action comic.
Superman.
Only
one action comic.
Yeah, and now they're said at the time they made 100 of these. 95 are gone. 5 are still in existence. 4 are held by private owners, and Nicolas Cage's one is the only one that was photographed.
Wow.
Because he bought it, okay?
Wow.
But it got stolen from him in 2000.
It got stolen?
It got stolen from his house when he wasn't there, obviously. Wow. But here's where the twist of fate comes in. It was 11 years later, in the year 2011, they found it in a storage locker that was purchased, and they were able to track it down to him being the owner of it.
That's almost like lightning striking, because something like that, you wouldn't expect that in a storage locker, and they're able to trace it and return it to the gentleman. That's friggin' awesome.
He was able to document and everything, but the thing is, about 4 months after that, he turned around and sold some of his comic book collection. He had a Batman #1, I think there was.
Wow.
He had some pencil sketches of like the first Wonder Woman drawings. But he turned around and sold it for $2.1 million.
What? $2.1 million?
$2.1 million.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good return on investment.
The guy's talented, good looking, and he's a smart investor. I'm telling you.
Well,
wow.
Well, we don't know that about his castles that he keeps buying. That's a whole nother story. Go look that up and
I wonder if they have leprechauns in there and they have little gold little socks.
He probably wishes. But I think that's bringing us to an end here of the first podcast of the Nerdlings here on the Shiny Squirrel Podcast Network. Anything else you want to throw in, Jersey Mike?
Jersey Mike just wants to say thank you very much for being such a gracious host and co-host in this. And I'm looking forward to doing many, many more podcasts. And hopefully we're going to generate a few from the strip and really get this going.
We are. And
we are? All right.
Yeah. We haven't decided the topic yet, but we'll decide the topic next week. And we'll be back with the Nerdlings.